Alright, thank you for joining me today. This is Three of Swords, and I am beginning my 0 to 0 quest. Now, I hear you. I don't actually hear you because we're not in the same room. But theoretically, I hear what you might be saying, which is you're doing it wrong. It's not 0 to 0, it's 0 to hero. However, that's been done or being done by several people, and the reality is the people who are doing that are like in the apartment above me, in the sense that their skill floor is my skill ceiling. So not all of us can necessarily reach that hero level. So this is then the 0 to 0 stream and series of videos in which we strive to be just good enough. So, brand new account, getting started here, Ferguson's Crossing, which is chosen because that is the server that my main account has been on pretty much since launch. I was actually on a different account, or on a different server, I should say, uh, during the beta, and then I think 3 or 4 days after the launch, switched to Ferguson's Crossing, and my main account has been there primarily ever since. So, let's create a character. Human and female. Why? Because if I'm going to watch something for an extended period of time, I might as well like it. If I'm going to play on a character, I might as well like the character that I'm playing on. And Sylvari and Norn, I definitely don't get into. They're pretty unlikable for me. Asura and Char are fine, but ultimately this is kind of where I like to be on my characters. So if I'm striving to be good enough, knowing that I'm not going to be great, because I'm not great on my main account. I've just been playing it long enough that I have some things. Um, I'm probably going to want to land on a class where I'm pretty comfortable, and where I feel like I can succeed even if I'm not as good as some of the people around me. So there are a couple classes that I'm going to gravitate to. I do like Warrior. I actually like Warrior quite a bit. I like playing Greatsword Warrior. That's kind of what I started out in Guild Wars 2. And Warrior's gone through some ups and downs, but I still find it to be a lot of fun. Engineer right now is in a really, really good place because you can basically just um, rifle your way through everything, and it's actually pretty effective. That's kind of a recent development. When they did an overhaul for rifle, it was definitely not true prior to that overhaul. In fact, Engineer was really hard to play, and then they just made the changes to rifle, and suddenly it became a very different class. And then of course they introduced Mechanist with the most recent expansion, and the combination of introducing Mechanist and the overhaul to rifle made it really an impressive thing. And then where we're going to end up today is Necromancer. Um, for a while I mained Warrior, and then I mained Ranger, and then landed on Necromancer, and I've been there ever since. And as part of this, what we're going to do is we're going to go straight towards trying to unlock an elite spec, and Necromancer has my favorite elite spec. Mechanist is close because it's just kind of Guild Wars 2 easy mode, but Power Reaper is still something that I find myself returning to because it's so much fun to play. So we'll get her set up here real quick. I can live with that face. Eh, eh. Probably end up changing her hair again later anyway. But for right now, I like it. I like it. Yep. Yep. We need a name. To work. So what I'm not gonna do while I'm working through this is spend a whole bunch of time on the story. So a while back, before I took a rather extended break from producing anything, I tried to capture all the story, and I made it quite a ways. I was partway through Heart of Thorns when I ended up, real life happened, and I ended up falling away from that. Um, I'd like to come back to that at some point. I think that would be a fun thing to do if I could stick with it. Whether or not I can stick with it is going to be dependent on several things. But for these purposes, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on the story because it slows me down from reaching the goals that I want to reach. So, you know, Corporal Byrne's needs are not of significant concern for me right now. There are some things that we are going to want to sort through in terms of options. Yes, those things are good. I don't want to see enemy names. I don't actually want to see player names. Party names. You know, I really don't care. Do want to see usable objects, though. I do like seeing skill recharge. Do like seeing the target health percent. And then I do like... where is it? Further down? Here we go. I do like lock ground, target at maximum skill range. Do like that. Most folks get rid of the double tap to evade. I actually like the double tap to evade. I'm an oddball in that capacity. I know there are plenty of folks who feel like it throws them off on jump puzzles and stuff. It doesn't throw me off on jump puzzles. I guess take your time, and then it's not an issue. But I get where most people are coming from on this. Because I can use approximately 3 buttons at one time, like that's like, which is the reason that my skill ceiling is so low. I don't have the ability to use 17 buttons at once. So if I set a dodge button, then I'm going to find myself immensely frustrated because I'm not going to be able to use it often enough. Whereas if I double tap, then I can dodge. So there you have it. So my options relatively set. Kind of bypass much of the tutorial here to get to what I want to get to, which is moving on with the game. And moving on with a good stiff drink, which I have here.
Time to do some real
So
damage.
one of the things to address pretty much immediately is I am not going to manually level this character up. I'm going to use one of the boosts that I got. Depending on the package that you buy when you buy the game, you may get 1 or 2 level 80 boosts. You actually will have gotten more if you bought each expansion as they came along since the launch of the game. But buying the game right now, you could get 1 or 2. I'm going to go ahead and use these for a couple of reasons. One, because I do not want to take the time to manually level a character. It's just kind of not that fun for me at this point in time because I've done it a number of times before. 2, I don't think that most new players, honestly, are leveling characters manually. I know that in terms of you know, like the Reddit or the forums or whatever, people are out there saying, hey, you need to do this. You should not use the boost. You need to manually level your character. I don't think that's a realistic ask. And I don't think it's what ArenaNet markets the boost for. I think it's pretty clear when you look at how the boost is set up and how they set up the most recent expansion that they want the boost to be used by new characters, and that they when they set up the new expansion, End of Dragons, they set it up assuming that a lot of the new players were going to boost, specifically to get into the new content. One more setting that's driving me absolutely insane. Just like a month and a half ago, something like that, they changed the A and D key and the Q and E key to have different effects, and it drives me absolutely insane. Alright, much better. So, with that in mind, boost. And if you're going to get from 0 to 0, but less of a 0 as quick as possible, then you can use a boost anyway, right? Now, what I wouldn't do, and have only done once under very specific circumstances, certainly wouldn't do now, is to pay outright for an additional boost from the gem store, because certainly they're there. Um, Probably here in upgrades, if I remember correctly. It's either upgrades or utility. Probably actually appears in both. There we go. 2,000 gems is $25. So what I'm definitely not going to do, at just for the heck of it, is pay $25 to bring a character from 1 to 80, when it's really not that hard to do, and it's easier than ever when they added this. So this character adventure guide, if you work through these achievements, you're getting a huge amount of experience at each interval as you access them. That's going to bring you to level 80 quite a bit faster. Are you going to do it in a day? Not unless you really kind of go bananas. Could it be done in a day? I guess. I guess it could. You'd really want to hit the dungeons pretty hard as they became accessible, and you'd want to hit world bosses as you had gained access to those regions. Like you'd really want to kind of min-max your leveling experience, but you could do it, I suppose. And those achievements would be crucial to that. Or you can do this, right? So we've used the boost. We find ourselves in the Silver Waste. If you were a brand new player, then you would want to come in here and say, okay, what do I got? Oh my gosh, I got a scepter, which is a terrible way to start, but that's what we've started with. We also got a staff, which is also less than optimal, but fine under our current circumstances. If I were a brand new player, what I'd be doing is looking through this by coming into this area and messing around with the different enemies and playing through the different events. This is a great area to play events because there's no shortage of them, and each kind of gives you enough of a challenge and enough of an experience to where you can really explore that class. So we could run around here and we could say, hey, is Necro right for us or not right for us? I already know it's right for me because I like it. It's primarily what I play across not only my main account, but several of my alt accounts, because I have a few of them. It's my preferred class. So we got two options at this point. We can actually leave the map and Alaska if we want to keep the level 80 boost or not, or we can double click it again, consume it. There we go. So what then? Poof, now we're level 80. So what is it that we're trying to achieve? If the hero concept that other folks, Wooden Potatoes, Mighty Teapot, and some of those other folks, I think Muckluck did something similar, all being much better players than me, their standard, I think, pretty consistently for 0 to hero, has been full ascended, ready to raid, like we can now do everything in the game. On my main account, I can't do everything in the game. I realize my limitations, particularly when it comes to like the buttonology. I realize what I can and can't do, and I can't raid. I'm open to the argument of, hey, anyone can with enough practice, enough preparation. That's fine, but I have an actual career. I have a family. I have a great many things that I do. I'm not. That's not in the cards for me, and I have no desire for it to be in the cards for me. So then, what is the desired end state for 0 to 0, just being slightly less bad than what I currently am, or what the count currently is at? Well, I want to unlock the elite spec that I'm going to be primarily playing with, which honestly could be just a few hours work. I want to unlock masteries that are going to make the game a much better experience for me than what they, than this moment. So mastery level 0 down here, which you can't see because of this chat blocker that I have in the way here. Mastery level 0 gives me nothing. What are the masteries necessary for me to really enjoy the game fully? Because as the different expansions have rolled out, definitely they've added things that make the game a better experience. But as those expansions have rolled out, they've also altered the way the maps and events are being created to where now if I go to End of Dragons and I do it with 0 mastery points, I won't necessarily be having the type of experience that I would like to have. So to kind of run through the masteries real quick that I do care about and that I do want to achieve on this playthrough. First of all, the Central Tyria masteries, right? These, all of them I care about. In the sense that I need to reach the last one. So, do I care about these? No, I don't care about 1 through 4 here. But this is a huge quality of life thing right here. The ability, and that's the auto loot. So as I kill, I immediately pick up what the enemy has dropped. That is, in my opinion, like an absolutely essential thing. I understand why they made it a mastery. Because it encouraged, when they rolled it out, it encouraged players to go through the mastery process. Great, but I do kind of wish that it was just a natural part of the game at this point, because it makes such a difference in terms of quality of life. It's not, however, a natural part of the game right now, so all the more reason for me to work through that. So we're going to do all these. Come on, man, I'm trying to talk. What are you doing here, Wolf? Should be using my minions. So here in a minute, I should actually put together a build versus pushing buttons. Even a bad player can do that. So yes, masteries. On the Heart of Thorn, it won't even let me unlock them right now. Well, I'll talk through it anyway because I have it written down in front of me. On the Heart of Thorns masteries, gliding, I want to work all the way through gliding 5 because that's advanced gliding. Essentially the ability to glide without running out of gliding power, so to speak, and consequently, by running out of gliding power, you plummet to the earth. Well, I don't want to plummet to the earth. I want to be able to glide whenever I desire, so I'm going to go ahead and work through those. So that is a total in of itself of 19 mastery points that I'm going to need to achieve there. The Itzel stuff, I don't care about the Itzel stuff. Doesn't mean anything to me. The Exalted stuff, don't care about any of the Exalted stuff. Doesn't mean anything to me. The raid line absolutely does not mean anything to me. The Itzel and Exalted ones, however, ultimately, as I progress through this, I'm going to end up getting some of that, simply because some story is going to have to be progressed in order to get some of the things I want. And while progressing that story, I will have to get like the first 1 or 2 Itzel masteries and the first Exalted mastery, if I remember correctly. So we'll end up getting a few of those, even though we truly do not care about them at all. Ancient Magics. So that was the Living World Season 3 one. It falls within the Heart of Thorns category, but it was not directly Heart of Thorns. I do want some of those. I could easily say I don't care about any of those. The game experience would not be significantly worse, but the Spectral Aid, which is the I'm downed and I'm going to nuke everything in my general vicinity to get back up, is very powerful. And when you spend as much time downed as I do, even not playing Ellie that much, I still spend enough time downed that for me, having that available to me is pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and work through that. So for Heart of Thorns, that leaves us in the ballpark of 40 mastery points that we're going to be trying to get, which is a meaningful amount of gameplay. Fortunately, in Heart of Thorns, the actual mastery points themselves are not that hard to get, especially if you push through to Dragon Stand, run Dragon Stand 3 or 4 times through all different, so run all 3 paths at least once. You're going to unlock a number of mastery points that way. Not too worried about that. Path of Fire. All 4 of the primary mounts I not only want to unlock, but I want to take to level 3 because their more advanced capabilities are really critical for enjoying gameplay. And for the Raptor, it's necessary just to advance the story, right? You got to have canyon leaping. But for like the Springer, or the bunny, as most folks know it, that high jump, like if you get the bunny but you don't reach the actual, I think it's called vault, the actual high jump, it's not making a significant impact on your life, to be honest. But once you do have that, then the Springer becomes something crazy. So Raptor, Springer, Skimmer, Jackal, I'd like to get all three of the, or the first three levels on all four of those mounts. Roller Beetle, I don't care. I like the Roller Beetle. Roller Beetle's cool. I simply don't care in the terms of how it impacts the gameplay experience, because I don't feel that Roller Beetle significantly does. Griffin, same thing. Griffin is great. Like, kudos to ArenaNet for doing a really good job with the Griffin, because they did. But Skyscale immediately made the Griffin obsolete. The moment that Skyscale rolled out, Griffin, in my opinion, brought nothing to the table.
I feel good.
It is really cool in the sense of the incredible speed you can travel with, but like in terms of like practically speaking, moving across a map, the amount of time it takes to get to a high point where you're going to gain that speed with a Griffin in the first place, you could have just used a Jackal or a Skyscale to cover a meaningful portion of the map anyway. So we're going to ignore Roller Beetle, we're going to ignore Griffin. Here's the big one. This is probably going to be the most time-consuming thing in taking this brand new account to what I'm going to consider completion, for the purposes of this series, and that is we're going to unlock Skyscale. I don't think unlocking Skyscale is particularly hard. I think they struck a pretty good balance there in terms of making it accessible. I do think it's time consuming, and part of what has made it time consuming in a very interesting way right now is getting all the map currencies. So that was always time consuming. That was always a significant endeavor. They made it much easier to do when they rolled out leading up to End of Dragons. They did a whole thing. Oh man, look at storage. I need to actually address like all that's going on here. Anyway, they rolled out all of this. So this return to stuff, which was a really cool thing that they did, and I really enjoyed going back and playing through that with the incentive and with the motivation they created by doing that. The rewards, when you get to the Season 4 stuff here, so Return to Daybreak up through Return to War Eternal, when you reach the appropriate level of rewards, you get 250 of the map currency. So in other words, and they did this well after Skyscale had been introduced, so I don't think this is some kind of weird coincidence. Now, they did it for the Season 3 stuff, too. So, well, no, actually, did they not? I was like 99% certain they did. But I don't see 250 map currencies there, so I guess I'm wrong. Dead ass wrong. I definitely think they did it for the Season 4 stuff because they specifically wanted to make Skyscale more accessible. So the fastest way to get to Skyscale right now is to play through all Season 4, which you're going to have to unlock every one of these maps anyway, so you might as well play through it, and then get just enough of the achievements to get the 250 currency, or a full stack of map currency for every one of the maps. Especially this one, Jahai. That one tends to be a real grind, and Thunderhead Peaks tends to be a real grind. There's one heart on each of these maps that I just do in repetition till I have the map currency, or that's how I did it prior to this. Now just got to get the achievements, right? So, Skyscale, we're going to unlock that. And then on the End of Dragons masteries, or Icebrood Saga, and then End of Dragons. On Icebrood Saga, I had an interesting experience with Icebrood Saga. One, because my whole Icebrood Saga thing was interrupted by a trip to Afghanistan for a while. So I missed out on experiencing it live, or several chapters at least, and came back and was like, okay, I'm going to catch up on this. and was kind of left wondering, like, when it came to the masteries, the story, Iceberg Saga story, is probably an improvement over. It's definitely an improvement over Season 3, which I thought, in terms of storytelling, was just abysmal. And probably an improvement over Season 4, at least up until the end of Iceberg Saga. But because I was not experiencing it live, I didn't really feel the urgency. And then when I looked at the masteries, there was really like a question of like, what is the point to these masteries? The masteries were extremely lacking, in my opinion. So the resilience, valor, vigilance thing, like, I don't care about any of that. I can 100% do without any of it. The packed way station masteries, the EMP thing has become kind of a necessity almost for like large world events. And this is an area where, when you look at the content they created post Icebrood Saga, which obviously would primarily be End of Dragon stuff at this point in time. When you look at that, and you look at like the break bars, and particularly in the Suwon event, you look at that break bar, I don't know that you achieve that without EMP. So I think that event was written, or not written, was designed with a vast majority of the players already having access to EMP, in mind. So if I'm going to be a proficient player, if the goal of this playthrough is, hey, I can't be an excellent player, but I can be proficient and I can accomplish things I want to accomplish, then I have to gain access to EMP to be a responsible participant in events like, the Suwon fight. So we are going to unlock EMP. The last one, the Dragon Slayer thing, like, that seems completely built around the Dragon response missions and the strikes, which strikes are good. Like, I like what they try to do there, but I don't need a mastery track dedicated to like making me better at them, or with like, so just the whole Icebrood Saga mastery thing is ridiculous. So 1 mastery point for Icebrood Saga, that being EMP, and then in End of Dragons. End of Dragons for masteries was a very interesting expansion, because it's like they created a whole series of mastery lines that appear to be more or less dedicated to chilling out. That's cool. I can dig it, but for these purposes, I don't know what again, what is the point? So fishing is really cool. I got a real kick out of it. My main account, I've nearly completed all the fishing achievements, and that has not been an unpleasant experience. But I don't consider it a crucial Guild Wars 2 experience. It's all like just an extra thing that takes place on the side. So I'm not going to pursue any fishing mastery. By virtue of entering the very initial story, I'm going to get one of those, but I don't care about it. Same thing with the skiff. The skiff is a more interesting version of the skimmer, but cannot do some of the things the skimmer can. It's cool that like people can join you on your skiff, but if you don't have friends, then that doesn't matter, right? And I don't have friends, so it doesn't matter. I do, but not in Guild Wars 2. So no skiff, no fishing, Jade Bot. So I'm going to pursue 6 mastery points worth on the Jade Bot track, which is 3 stages in. The reason being because that gets you to the Jade Bot, Jade Tech waypoint, which is probably the singular, really unique, really significant thing that they added with the End of Dragons masteries. The ability to temporarily plant a waypoint where you want it is a pretty significant ability. And again, coming back to the Suwon fight, like it's really heavily utilized there. It could be, you could choose it to utilize in other places certainly as well. But that's an excellent example. If you've played through that fight a few times, particularly if you've had bad experiences in that, then you can probably appreciate how the ability to put a waypoint where you want to put it is so valuable. And then there's Arborstone, which is cool, But another thing that I can like definitively say, I don't care. Arborstone is Sun's Refuge 2.0. It's a better Sun's Refuge. That's still all it is. And at the end of the day, it's like, hey, earn your way to one of these passes, right? So surely they have some passes for sale. They always have passes for sale. Let's take a look at them. Where are they at? Tell me they don't have any for sale right now. Like, that would be really hard to believe. Serious? Oh, here we go. They're in utility. Oh, and actually, that's just the 2-week one. Do they not have the full Mistlock? So Mistlock Sanctuary is like the one that I think is actually decent. That is the one I have on my main account. Doesn't look like they have the full one. They just got the 2-week one for sale right now. But these passes, while they're super cool, like, we always have a free version of that. And it's real simple. You just go to Obsidian Sanctum, and everything that you need, practically speaking, I realize not everything that's in, say, Mistlock Sanctuary is in Obsidian Sanctum, but enough of it is. My bank is here, so hey, I don't need that right now. I don't need that right now. I don't even know, what is that? Canthan Raptors. I thought that's what. Oh no, that's the multi-factor authentication thing. So there we go. Like, cleared out space. Do I need to sell some things? I can do that here. Do I need to access the trading post? Do I need to access the Laurel Merchant? Like what do I need to do? I can do it here. Hey man, I'm gonna need some of these. There we go. Well, I can't sell stuff yet. Count's too new. Can't sell, can't buy. Okay. Everything I need. Right in here. Here's the best part. Most of the passes can't even do this. I now go back where I was. So they want $10, whatever it is, US currency, for a feature that doesn't do something that's already free in the game right now. And that's kind of where I'm at with the Arborstone thing too. Like, again, what does it give me? I think it's got access to strike missions in it. That's it. Like, that's the thing that I can't already get from Obsidian Sanctum. I don't care about Arborstone. The turtle is like the turtle is a prestige mount, in my opinion. Can you give someone else a ride? Yes, you can, incredibly slowly. And now, with the way they give Raptor just for showing up, which is good, I think that's a huge step in the right direction. They needed to do that. They did it. I'm glad they did it. But your friend that you're giving a ride to on the turtle already has a Raptor. Run alongside them with your Raptors. You are faster than together on the turtle. Now, if you give them a ride on the turtle, they can shoot the laser gun. That's great. Does not make it worth pursuing, in my opinion. So, Enda Dragons, 6 mastery points. So what does that leave us with? It leaves us with a bare minimum of 104 mastery points that we're going to be chasing here. Realistically, it's probably going to end up somewhere closer to like 112, 115 when all is said and done. So what else besides getting masteries that's going to make this a better experience for us? Well, we are going to work our way through a few dungeons. Because we're going to try and reach a minimum of 150 gold in currency. Now, that's an extremely low amount of gold, honestly, compared to what a lot of people, are capable of achieving. But I do think for very casual players or for very new players, 150 gold is actually a significant amount. I think there's a huge discrepancy. Or not discrepancy, there's a huge distance in the game between people who have a lot, kind of like in real life. People who have a lot have a lot. People who don't have much have surprisingly little by comparison. So I think for a lot of people, 150 gold is actually a meaningful amount. And then certainly there are folks in the game for whom it is basically nothing. So let's sort through this real quick. We don't need any of the old equipment. Like, can we just get rid of all this? I don't think we can salvage any of it, though. I guess we could sell it, but not that worried about the copper right now. generally, with a new account, what I'll do...
Make the
Ah,
stars
man.
guide you.
I don't need that right now. There we go. Free up some space. Is I'll initially... I'll open, or I'll identify all the unidentified gear. Purpose for that is to unlock all the skins, you know, all the basic skins that are available very early in the game. You only need to do that for maybe your first 10 hours playing the game at max level, and then you've pretty much unlocked all of them that are going to pop up in that capacity.
Seize the moment. May the stars guide you.
Alright, improved.
We all have a place in the eternal alchemy.
So, one of the things that I think is critical to a new player that we already see kind of taking place here, and I think is lost on a lot of new players, a lot of casual players, and potentially even on experienced players who just don't bother thinking about it, maybe because they don't have to, is that all this represents... No. Which one of these? I think that's the one that I really... Yeah, that's the one I really like. I like that one a lot.
Sweet, sweet
Seize
loot.
the moment.
This... You know, these things represent wealth. Whether... You know, so when... I get... Here, there's a better way to show it. This represents wealth. And it's hard to capture when I'm just looking at there. And right now, this hardly represents any wealth at all because there's nothing in here. But as you play over a relatively short period of time, you're going to acquire a lot of stuff in here, and you're not going to think about it if you're just immediately depositing, which you're probably going to do. Deposit materials and then compact, and there you go. And you're not thinking about the amount of stuff that's piling up. And
Seek and you shall
quickly, so that's where Guild Wars 2 efficiency is just so awesome. It's because suddenly you realize,
May the
hey, I have
stars
70
guide you.
gold, I have 80 gold. Or, hey, you know, like in the case of my main account, I have, it's like 4,000 or whatever gold in my material storage. That's accessible if at some point in time I decide, hey, you know what, I want to work on a legendary now. Well, I have a whole bunch of gold right there in my material storage that I can access if I choose to. Now, generally I don't. I just let it continue to accumulate until it's kind of outrageous, which is the reason that my main account has like 4,000 gold. But that's just a product of 10 years of gameplay, right? And generally speaking, my very first legendary, I did pretty much empty my material storage and sell everything. But I haven't done that in a number of years now. I don't think I did it for the second one. It's probably been 7 or 8 years since I truly dumped my material storage. So you just end up with just massive amounts of stuff, which is beneficial if what you're trying to do is accumulate wealth in a manner that isn't quite as clear as just having it end up right here, you know, where I currently have 24 silver, 21 copper. Alright, so let's go ahead and open that stuff, which I had failed to do earlier. This is immediately going to make my life a lot better. And also, though, a whole bunch more stuff that
Seize the moment.
probably need to, like, drop in the bank, or, well, no, not some of this. Some of it, yes. I can't sell these things, can I? Ah,
Make the
such
stars
trash.
guide
How long?
you.
4 days. Did they make that longer? They made that longer.
Welcome guest.
Someday I will establish
That's
my
terrible.
prominence.
Why would they do that? Why would they make it longer? Okay. We'll just stash this stuff over here for right now. I don't need that. We'll keep the dyes. Okay. I think it's this one. Nope. There we go. Love that die right there. That's a great die. Let's see what this one gives us. It's relatively unimpressive stuff. All right, we'll go ahead and use that. All right, so let's immediately, now that we've kind of established roughly minimum 104 mastery points, roughly 120 more than likely when all is said and done. Going to knock out some dungeons, and we're going to do that to build at least 150 gold. AR, agony resistance. So I don't believe that we're going to meet our end state by being full ascended. I don't think that's necessary for most players who play at a fairly casual level. But I would like to see, I do feel that even very casual players, even players that really aren't probably all that good, I'm not all that good, can at least get into Fractals at level 1, if not, or tier 1, if not tier 2. So we're going to aim for 60 agony resistance, which would allow us to complete all tier 2 Fractals.
My word.
So yeah, I know, right? Like, even the NPC thinks that's amazing. I think it's amazing. So 60 agony resistance, allowing us to complete tier 2 Fractals, which I think is very achievable for most players. Fractals really, particularly a lot of like the very original Fractals, the ones that when they first introduced that game mode, are not tremendously difficult. Now, some of the ones that have been reworked or some of the ones that were added later are a little bit more complex, but in general, not a big ask. So those are kind of our primary goals, and then we're going to see what else we can come up with along the way. We might come up with some other interesting stuff. I'm not going to mess around with PvP. I don't like it. I don't think it adds anything to the game. I don't think it is bad. Like, if you like it, cool. But it's like, particularly with Guild Wars 2 and how in the current state, if it's it's PvP. I don't know if the game changes that much whether PvP exists or not. World vs. World, I don't think it's relevant for this playthrough. I play it from time to time. It's fine.
I know a guy.
I think they really messed it up with server linking. I don't know if Alliance is going to fix that or not. I think they've really mismanaged that game mode pretty massively throughout the entire history of the game. Supposedly they're going to fix it. We'll see. Not going to mess with it on this playthrough. So there's kind of a baseline of what we're going to try to achieve. The very first thing I want to do to get moving forward on that, now that I've kind of sorted through the mess of boosting, is immediately start working towards an elite spec. I want to get to Power Reaper. I'm not a huge fan. We're actually probably fine with the Celestial stuff for the time being, but I don't want a staff, I don't want scepter, I don't want dagger. Like, that's not the setup that I want, and ultimately I'd prefer for this stuff to be berserkers also. So we're going to start moving towards all that. In order to pursue the elite specs, we have to gain access to maps that have hero points. Could we do it on the core maps? Yeah, but it would take forever going from a single hero point to a single hero point. So instead, let's very quickly, actually, you know what? Since I'm standing right here, let's quickly gain access to the regions that we want to gain access to start working towards elite specs. And again, because the primary purpose of this
Good. You made it.
is
Happy to lend a
not
hand to fight the blaze.
the story right now.
I speak
I'm
for
going
all
to
of
blow
the
through the
captains
story as
now
fast as
when I
possible,
say we're beyond grateful
keeping in
to
mind that
folks
that's
like you on
just
our
not.
side. We can ship out once the rest of Dragon's Watch gets here.
I guess I'm going to go full
it's-
minion
It'll just be me. Oh,
for now till I can actually access Reaper stuff, and then I'll set up my preferred Reaper build,
I'm sure it'll...
which is silly. Full minion is just silly.
Timey and I
but,
faced Balthazar before, but he slipped through our fingers.
it'll be good for some
It
of the hero
won't
points.
happen again. Timey, she the short one? I hear she has quite the superiority complex. Funny to have a teeny tiny body with such a massive ego, huh? What is it? Why do you have that look on your face?
I'm sure the commander's silently trying to warn you that the little narcissist might be listening.
It's technology.
So we got
a remote
convergence of two
communicator.
annoying characters right here.
Yep, I'm
with
always at the commander.
Ellen and
Although,
Timey.
The Crystal Desert is farther away than
Timey
we
being
ever
the
tested
more
this thing.
annoying of the two.
I might not be able
But
to
ultimately
stay in
not a-
constant contact with you.
Not a fan. I know that
What a
puts me in the minority of
Huh, look at that. You broke Scrumpy's
within the
sarcasm
Guild Wars
meter.
2
Anyway,
fan
I'll get to work on
base.
solving that problem, so we'll never be apart again.
not everyone really cares about the story at all or likes it. of the people who
Pretty
do
typical. Well,
at least care about the
battalion of
story,
my
I think
best
I'm in
is
the
ready to
minority
go. Talk to First
of
Mate
folks
Fidus
who
and he'll get
really
you
do
situated.
not like Timey.
I'm lending you my personal airship to get to M Noon.
Tiny little
Peace.
MacGuffin
Heard you don't have the
of a
best track record
story-ruining mess.
No promises. Might be smarter to get it insured. Best of luck, Commander. It's a powder keg over there, and that maniac has already lit the fuse.
All right. So when it comes to the to some of the masteries, in theory, if I just want to access a raptor as fast as possible and access gliding as fast as possible, it might actually make more sense to immediately go for ended dragons, since they actually give you, well, they give you raptor like immediately, and then give you some gliding and even Springer in the process of playing through ended dragons. However, you can't advance those masteries. They just give it to you because the content was designed with the assumption that most players would already have a lot of that. So it's kind of it's kind of self-defeating to go about it that way. It's much more effective. So that's the other benefit of going ahead and accessing the playable areas now in terms of the expansions, is to start working towards those masteries of getting gliding, because gliding is a must also. So as we start working through the Heart of Thorns maps to get some of the hero points there, I'm going to have to access gliding pretty quick. Fortunately, that doesn't take a lot of time, so it won't be a tremendous task. One of my favorite characters. Has nothing to do with the story. He just hangs out here and spouts conspiracy theories. Probably, you know what I should do? 100%. I need to make a Wild Eye Miller character on one of my other accounts. Make him into I think I'll make him into a mechanist. I think that's the way to go. I don't actually need to talk to him. Alright, into the desert we go.
Doesn't look like we made it to Amnoon.
Sorry for the change of plans, but we saw smoke coming from that pyramid. Keel gave us orders, so we're going in.
The urge to try to glide here, and the realization that I cannot in fact do so, is... Like, I may have, on one of my alt accounts once when I got to this point, actually jumped off thinking that I was about to glide, and only to discover that that was not the case.
Like to stay on board. We'll get you to Amnoon as soon as we get back.
I didn't come this far to sightsee. I'm going with you. Arise, my creation.
Thing looks like it could sink at any moment.
That came from inside.
Alright. So we'll go diving in here, see what we can do. Like I mentioned, gonna run full minion here. Which is great for someone who has no idea what they're doing. I do have an idea what I'm doing, but
They're killing for sport.
you know, if you didn't, there's no shame in running like
Let's wait for that
full
introduction
minions.
until after we're done.
It's never gonna
There
get
are any
you
left, Commander?
to like a point. You know, you would not want to go into even dungeons, never mind like strikes or raids or something, with full minions. Like that would really, people would be pretty unhappy with you if you attempt to do that. But for something like this, it's great because it's going to drastically reduce, you know, the amount of damage you're going to take, or even the amount of aggro you're going to take, because your minions are going to eat all that. It's going to increase your ability to put the enemies down, because they do provide some measure of DPS, albeit less than a lot of other builds. But it gives you a lot of utility. Like they're just there to protect you, and that can be useful.
Ears up! Reinforcements incoming! Wait, it's only one unit.
Welcome to the desert, Commander.
And you are?
Balthazar's herald, and I have an offer for you. He has chosen to forgive you for your interference.
So when you're
with the
playing
fire and ice
through
dragons.
this for like the
Join him and
umpteenth
fell the
time,
crystal dragon.
this
Only
encounter
means to free
becomes
Tyria from their grasp.
frustrating. It becomes annoying.
Your god lies, and waging war on these
I've
people
never,
won't
in
help
any
you
game,
defeat
whether
the
it's
dragon.
an MMORPG or like, you know, as a kid playing JRPGs on the PlayStation, you know, when I was in high school or whatever the case may be, I've never been a fan of encounters that are designed to end in stalemate or designed to end in defeat, you know, that being the player's defeat, simply for the purpose of advancing the story. Like, it just never found that rewarding. And unfortunately, that's what we're going to experience here. Is it almost feels like a time filler, a mechanism to provide this dialogue, and I just don't know that that's 100% necessary. Probably if they were a little more committed to what they were doing, they could have done it a different way. So there are times when I like Scepter. This is not one of them. I do run Scepter with Scourge, which is the Pacifier elite spec. But seeing as we're working on, you know, kind of work our way towards Reaper, and that we're currently in core Necro, I find Scepter to be kind of a frustrating setup. I could switch to Staff. I'm not a fan of Staff either, because it feels immensely slow.
Fight us. We'll get the civilians out of here. Don't give her any more targets.
You can join his army, or be crushed by it. Come with me.
Head to the pyramid for safety. We have forces standing by to protect you. Thank you.
I was once like you, full of noble intentions. But then Balthazar chose me as his instrument.
Are you just a puppet? You have a choice.
No.
I don't even know why I'm attacking,
Choice was made for me.
to be honest. Completely unnecessary. You have to get it down to a certain point to progress, but then from this point out, there's no point in attacking the Herald. It actually just slows you down.
There's little I hold in higher regard than loyalty. This is the price of defiance. The world belongs to Balthazar now.
Now I'll have to make another one.
I remember the first time I played through this segment, it did feel, for whatever reason, it did feel, I don't want to say tremendously different, or difficult, but it at least, it certainly felt like a challenge. I felt concerned about whether or not I was going to be able to get through. Not get through it at all, but get through it without going down several times, which ultimately I did not.
This village is just the beginning, the tip of the spear. The outcome is inevitable. You're his in life and in death.
Drop the shield.
I'll find you again soon. My friends will take it from here.
This part in particular, I had significant difficulty with my first few playthroughs.
Go forth, my minion.
Get one of these guys down, and then the other one becomes really pretty trivial at that point.
I am dead in time. Give my
there we go.
regards to your
So
master.
this would have been,
Over here.
prior to End of Dragons rolling out, this would have been the point where you would get the raptor. And this would be, you know, and the, you know, the dialogue and stuff hasn't changed. So.
They're gone? Oh, thank you. I need to get through that gate. Okay, I'll just... Oh, if it's down, she must have smashed it on her way through.
I can gather whoever's left to get the gate open, but you have to help us. The town's burning out of control.
Of course, but maybe you should hang back. Yes, please. Haxim, your leg doesn't look good.
I can't just sit here.
It's okay, we'll handle this. You're helping by helping me.
Fine, fine. Just please don't let the entire village burn to the ground. Help the survivors. The raptors will get you to anyone who's out of reach.
Got it. And you? I'm fine. I'll stay with my brother. Okay. Shout if you need
So that whole
anything.
thing, this whole thing
Commander,
right here.
I've got something that might help with those fires.
I'm glad they got rid of the broken armor thing.
Carry
It
a fire extinguisher?
was...
Well, Keel said...
I was fine with broken armor at launch. I was fine with paying to repair my armor at launch. It made the consequences of dying real, and I appreciated that. Guild Wars 1 used well, it wasn't called Guild Wars 1. Guild Wars, the original Guild Wars, used a debuff to make the consequences of dying real, and that debuff would stack if you died several times in succession. And of course, the second time, you were more likely to die than the first because the debuff that already was there. Then you died a second time, and now you had 2 stays, so it became significant pretty quick. It went away with time, and if I remember correctly, you could expedite that by killing creatures. So you take easy targets down and kind of work your way back. The idea of having significant consequences to dying, I was absolutely fine with. As Guild Wars 2 kind of went away from that, they tried to make a lot of things more accessible. So it wasn't just, for example, like you can respec, like I can come up here right now and immediately say, which I haven't done this yet. I haven't checked any of this, so it's probably a disaster.
No, my hand raised that minion.
Oh, look, I switched traits and it killed all my minions. That's fantastic. That used to cost gold. I mean, not a gold, but there was a monetary cost associated with that in the past, and now there no longer is. So they've made a consistent effort to make different aspects of the game more accessible.
Man, good thing you
I don't. How did rezzing that guy get me master overkill? I don't think there's anything wrong with that by any stretch of imagination. It simply changed kind of the way the game played from launch. So when they finally said, hey, broken armor just isn't going to be a thing anymore at all, that's fine. That's kind of a natural progression of the direction they were already moving. And when they got rid of the cost of repairing armor but kept repairing armor around, it was kind of a strange thing. So it was kind of natural evolution. But now what it does instead is gives you this buff, and I don't understand. And it's on this massive 12-hour timer which is a really pretty huge timer, right? Until you forget about it because you're not paying attention, and then you realize, or you're playing on a different character that you hadn't played on in a while or whatever, and then suddenly you don't have the buff. Why? Because you didn't just randomly go. Like I get it. It's easy to just randomly walk up to an anvil and press F, but it just feels out of place and it feels obtuse. At least as bad as when armor broke for no reason. I think probably they could have just got rid of the entire thing altogether. Could have just made the anvil's decoration. I think that would have been fine.
Looks like the raptor's taken to you.
All right.
Keep it for your help.
So now we can see the
sure?
path fire mastery.
One
So to
less
kind of come
raptor's
back
the
to
least
what we
of our
talked about
problems.
earlier. We'll be going
Thanks.
for those three.
It'll help you cover ground
It's not going to let us
faster.
look at the others though.
You'll need it.
We'll be going through the
The
first
mine
three
gate is
levels of each
operational again.
mount.
Go through there. It'll take you to Amnoon. And Outlander, please pay this tragedy back for us.
I will.
We're going to try and get through the rest of the story as quick as possible so that we can actually start pursuing mastery point or hero points. I'm going to get Reaper. This scepter nonsense is not for me.
Go forth, my minion.
Alright, that should be about it. Only thing left to do is to run over the gate and listen to some people talk. And what we'll do after break is immediately turn around and do this first story instance for Heart of Thorns and
Higher ground? Oh, right. If you can hear me, I'll try to reach
I
you.
guess the first one
Repeat,
for
I'll
Ended
try to
Dragons.
reach you
And
later.
that way we have that many more
Hello?
hero points immediately accessible.
I'm just gonna assume
And that
you
many
heard
more mastery point tracks immediately accessible to start making progress on all those.
What's your business in Amnoon? In case you haven't noticed, there's a mob of people trying to get in.
I was told a party from Divinity's Reach is here. I need to speak with them. Also, a village north of here was attacked. My crew is helping the survivors, but they could use Amnoon's support.
Wait here while I clear this with the council.
Captain Rahim, I can vouch for the commander. This is the leader of the guild I told you about.
There's a welcome sight.
This is the Dragon Slayer. Well, it wasn't a solo effort, but yeah. The commander's taken down one or two.
Ritlock. What? Kaz?
So when I do
You're here on
the
behalf of
story
the Queen?
playthrough at some point,
Correct.
all this
But just a
dialogue
moment.
will be
Captain, does the
will be
commander
relevant.
have
Like
permission to
this
enter?
is all storytelling,
Yes, aye,
and
Commander.
aspects of
Get up with your
Pathfire were
friends and
not
come see me at
terrible.
the Cavalier Station. We should talk.
I don't think Pathfire was particularly strong, but it was at least slightly better than the Living World season 3 that it followed. They finally, at some point later, actually, started kind of doing a better job. But
Mine. All mine.
all that dialogue ultimately will mean something to us. It just doesn't mean anything to us right now. All right, so with that in mind, we're going to take a break here. And when we come back, start working on gaining access to Heart of Thorns and Ended Dragons so we can start. While we're here, we might grab a few of the hero points right here on this map. But then ultimately also start moving to Heart of Thorns and Ended Dragons, get hero points on those maps as well. All right, I'll catch up with you again in a few minutes.